Now, it's been known for a while that Japanese gaming has been a shell of itself. While even 8 or 9 years ago, there were still some relevant Japanese games coming out, every year there have been fewer and fewer relevant Japanese games coming out. From Western role-playing games becoming big, with developers like BioWare and Bethesda going from nobodies to huge AAA developers, with EA even buying out BioWare, to genres that were formerly big only on the PC, such as first-person shooters, becoming big on consoles. And let's not forget the whole rise of the open world game, with games such as Grand Theft Auto, Saints Row, Just Cause 2, and many more becoming huge, with Grand Theft Auto 3 becoming the one game that made open world games huge, to the point where every game franchise was trying to make it their own open world game. You even had racing games like Burnout go open world. And at the same time, Japanese developers have failed to innovate, either making the same stuff they always do or trying to follow the Western leader and failing. And just like dominoes, Japanese developers have fallen one after another. For example, Square Enix had to buy a Western publisher to stay relevant. Capcom is up for sale. Konami is trying to move to mobile with disastrous results so far, since they are putting all their eggs in the mobile basket. And Atlus got bought by Sega, while Cave, Hudson, and Teodo are either dead or irrelevant, not making anything people talk about nowadays. And how can we possibly forget developers like Namco and Sega not localizing games people ask for in America? For example, Phantasy Star Online 2, which was announced and still has not been localized in America yet. Another good example is Valkyria Chronicles 3, which was never localized. Or Atlus, which never localized the second Persona 2 PSP remake, instead opting to re-release the PS1 version of that game in America instead of localizing the remake that Japan got. And let's not forget all the Digimon games that are either not digitally re-released or have not been localized. However, they did make a crappy Digimon brawler or battle game or whatever, I guess, for America only. But at the same time, there have been some Japanese shovelware developers pumping out mediocre games like crazy, all of them with the same characteristics. All with kawaii desu anime girls, fan service, more fan service, sometimes so much fan service that it's like a censored version of some porn game you'd find in the dark corners of the internet during a day where you have too much time on your hands. Low production values like what you'd find from an indie game on Steam Greenlight, and generic gameplay. Possibly the biggest thing that sets these games apart from other games is the audience these games are targeted for. Anime nerds. You know, the people more likely to make Linkin Park anime music videos while role-playing on Skype chat rooms and Steam community than playing the games themselves. Thankfully for these developers, as series such as the Hyperdimension Neptunia series show, this is a lucrative market. That series, which originally came out in 2010, has already had 4 main series games, 3 spin-off games, 3 remakes of the main series games, and I'm not even counting the several more games that are already in development. And this is all despite not selling Call of Duty numbers. The only franchise I can think of that's more milked is probably Five Nights at Freddy's, which has had 4 games in under a year. And other series that target this exact same demographic have had various games released on consoles as well, and you could possibly make up a whole new genre of games that share these common characteristics. Some of them are more fanservice than others though, and the game I'm reviewing today, Akiba's Trip, is one of the more fanservice ones. Just take a look at the box art for this game. One look at the box art of this game and you can clearly tell who this game's target audience is, from the clothes that are tearing off the anime girl on the cover art. I mean, that is clearly not the introduction to a hentai scenario, to the title of the game, Akiba's Trip, which is obviously a pun considering how the S is in black with that orange letter. And that's totally a pun, right? I mean, look, see, it reads as strip, you know, like clearly this was supposed to be for these people. And look at the subtitle, undead and undressed. How is this even sold in stores again? I could imagine somebody at GameStop trying to buy this game. Like, just imagine them, they're like, hey, can I have Akiba's trip? And the guy gets the game, like, from this games and stuff. And then all these people who are just in there to buy an Xbox Live card, or the new Call of Duty, or the new Madden, are just looking at this guy like, what is this guy on? I mean, why is he buying this at GameStop? Why is GameStop selling this? Jeez. I mean, walking into a physical store and buying this game is like walking into a family video and trying to rent, like, let's just say, stuff you would never show your kids. Like, yeah, you can go to family video and find lots of stuff that you would never show a family. I mean, I actually rented Akira from family video. I mean, that is totally a fun family movie that we should all sit down and watch together, right? And in fact, some family video stores actually have an adult section. That's all I'm really going to say, but just think about that for a second. Going into a store called Family Video and going into an adult section there. But anyways, let's ignore the subject matter of this game and let's get to the game itself, shall we? Now, this game is a quick console port to the PC, as I'm reviewing the PC version. And as I've noticed with a lot of poor console ports, when you play poor console ports on the PC, you tend to run into some interesting issues. And I actually had to grab another computer to play this game on, and I'll show you why. So first, let's take a look at the system requirements. The minimum OS is Windows Vista Service Pack 2. It actually used to be Windows 7 and 8, but they lowered it to Windows Vista after, I don't know, a patch changed some things. The minimum processor is a Core i3 530 or an AMD quad-core Phenom 810, and it requires 6 gigs of RAM. And the graphics, it requires a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 450 or a 5870 from AMD with a gig of VRAM. It requires DirectX 11, and it recommends a GeForce 760. It recommends 8 gigs of RAM, and it recommends an i5 2500. And that is before you take a look at the graphics and realize, even on the Steam page, that they look like a PlayStation 2 game. Now, for comparison, Crysis, a game that was a big high-end game back in 2007, required much lower graphics card and CPU than this game did. And it still looks much better than this game does. That should say a lot about the state of PC gaming today. I mean, you've got games that look like a PS2 game, but require higher specifications than COD 4, than Crysis, than Counter-Strike Source, than those games to run. That should tell you something about PC gaming now. But anyways, let's talk about how well the game actually ran in the real world. So attempt number 1 to get the game working was on an Asus N56JR MH71 laptop from maybe just about a year ago. That's really how old the laptop is. It's relatively new, but the main problem this laptop has is that it uses NVIDIA Optimus graphics. So despite having a 760M, some games decide to have issues when played on this laptop, and Akiba's Trip is one of them. When I tried playing the game did not work in full screen for me. Even when I hit Alt-Enter, it would default back to windowed mode. But it was even worse when I actually tried to play the game, and when I started the game would actually crash the desktop. So, knowing that I had a similar issue with Battlefield 4 on the same laptop, even though this laptop can play many other games just fine, I decided I'd try it on laptop number 2, an HP DV6T3000 with an AMD 5650 dedicated graphics chip that's not switchable, so it only uses the AMD chip. And I thought maybe this should fix the issues with this game, and the game actually did work on this laptop. However, I did run into a major issue when I tried playing this game, and that is the fact that this laptop's specs are lower than the minimum requirements to run this game on, and that was a major issue. But of course, here's the thing. I've seen games where the specifications needed to run the game on like the website and stuff are actually higher than what you actually need to run the game, and a good example is Call of Duty Ghosts, which required 6 gigs of RAM, but ran perfectly fine on 4 gigs of RAM to the point where they actually patched it so it wouldn't whine if you tried playing it with 4 gigs of RAM anymore. And that's a good example of this. And the same can apply with many indie games developed by smaller teams without the high amount of computers they can test them on. So I thought, meh, maybe I'll give the game the benefit of the doubt and maybe the game will actually run at a playable frame rate on this laptop. And wow, I was surprised at just how badly optimized this game is. The game looks like a PlayStation 2 game, but yet this game not only requires DirectX 11, but it struggles to run on even a 5650. But yet you have games like Counter-Strike Source, Call of Duty 4, Crysis that run at better frame rates and look much nicer on the same exact hardware. Now, to make matters worse, when I tried playing the game using a controller, the game actually decided to glitch out, as when I was pushing one button it would do another. And when I tried closing the game with Alt F4, the game actually crashed to the desktop as well, on this second computer. So I'm going to have to conclude that the game is not only a buggy port, but it's also an unoptimized port too. It doesn't matter which platform you own this game on though, because no matter what platform you buy this game on, it looks the same. So you can feel ashamed knowing that this is what developers are using the additional power of the PS4 or a nice gaming PC to produce. And especially if you're a PC gamer, you can feel glad in the fact that you spent hundreds of dollars, maybe even over $1,000, just to get PS2 graphics. This is PC gaming in 2015, people. But the graphics aren't the worst part. The art style of this game is so god-awful. I mean, technically this game looks horrible. The textures are blurry, and the game just feels so empty except for all the non-player characters who just walk straight that you bump into, who have labels attached to them like it's like a simplified version of Watch Dogs, and that's it. Like, sure, you can bump into somebody and they'll say there's some weeaboo otaku nerd, but that's about it. And the overworld maps in this game are even more broken up than the PlayStation 2 version of Deus Ex, or maybe Invisible War 2, because that game had broken up maps. But here's the thing, those maps feel bigger than the maps in Akiba's Trip, because Akiba's Trip feels like it's a very small, broken up open world. And especially considering how this is next gen and you have all these open world games on next gen, and yet you have this game. It's just an embarrassment to gaming. I mean, God, I'd rather look at Postal 2 than look at this game, because this game just looks that badly graphically. Oh yeah, did I mention Postal 2 requires less hardware than this game to run? But enough about the tech talk, let's get to the actual gameplay and story. Now, the story of this game is clearly not based off another Western computer role-playing game. I can't quite put my finger on the name of it, but you probably know which game I'm talking about. Anyways, what happened is, apparently you're some dude who wakes up somewhere after doing some contract thing, and apparently you were promised anime figures, but instead of getting your kawaii anime figures instead, you got turned into some human vampire thing. But then you get saved and broken out, and then you have to get to your anime nerd crib. Of course, you also get to hear lots of anime fan references, from recording anime to your DVR, to talking about women with terms such as 3D and 3D-PD. If you do not know what those terms are, or what context they're used in, good. Because here's the thing, you won't see those terms used anywhere outside of an image board where people talk about how much they love and are obsessed with fictional anime characters. Those are the only other places you'll see words like that used. And they use them in this game. It's even more cringeworthy than tuning on your television and seeing an ad use memes from 2007. Or watching the music video for the Weezer song, Pork and Beans. And this is even more cringeworthy than that. The only other game that comes close to being as cringeworthy as this game does is Hyperdimension Neptunia, and that game is just as bad when it comes to being loaded with unfunny references that nobody outside a narrow population is gonna get, while everybody else is gonna look at this and wonder, okay, am I supposed to be laughing at this? Maybe I should laugh at it because they said a line, and that should be funny, right? And the same goes with the dialogue options you're given. Imagine like something you'd see out of a BioWare parody from several years ago, like parodying any of the BioWare games, because that's kind of what the dialogue system in this game feels like. But let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay of this game is a beat 'em up. Think like a more clunky version of Metal Gear Rising, where you go around and just beat people up, except it's not satisfying like Metal Gear Rising, along with the way of defeating your enemies being frustrating too. When you're defeating your enemies, instead of just beating them up forever, you actually have to pull their clothes off. That's right, apparently some pervert developing this game thought that this would be a great idea for a video game. I'm not making this up. This is like one of those bad games you find in a dark corner of the internet when you're browsing one day. That's what this is like, but of course there's no porn in the game, and if you see anybody naked, it's always censored. That's how they can get this game an M rating instead of an AO rating, and actually have at least 3 stores carrying this game. It doesn't help that with these kind of games, one common trend I've noticed is that the gameplay is pretty poor. For example, when it comes to that mechanic, you're supposed to hold down a button. However, instead of being shown a button, you just see in a poorly visible area a flashing color, which isn't even that good of a color choice. I think it's like dark something, and it kind of blends in and it looks ugly and stuff. I mean, it was not a very good design decision. And you know, another poor design decision is not having the buttons colored based off of what controller button you're pressing, like many games that use QuickTime events utilize. And if you stripped out every bit of fan service, you'd be left with a dull, boring brawler. And really, the finishing move system in this game, or well, you know, the system involving clothes, would be a pretty clunky system, and I'm assuming that people would see right through it if this game did not have that sort of material in the game to try to get people to buy it. But no, this game is pure shovelware. And you want to know another sign that this game was made just for a very small audience and just to cash in on it? Just listen to the voice acting of this game, because it is very unbearable. However, there is one redeeming value in this game, and that is you can beat people up with a keyboard. However, don't be surprised if that appears in the next Saints Row game, or as a mod for Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row. And just like many of these ultra low budget games you see from these Japanese game studios that pander to one niche, you'll notice that the game uses visual novel style cutscenes. So despite stuff happening in the background, despite being told about something happening, you're just seeing portraits of the characters talking. Just like you'd see on a free visual novel anybody can make using free visual novel making software you can find on Google. The game has very long and drawn out cutscenes, and usually you're only given 2 actions or responses on what you can do. Either you can talk like a normal person, or you can, like, spew some anime nerd reference, because those are so funny, am I right? But hey, if you want to look at everything wrong with the Japanese gaming industry now, just take a look at this game, because this game explains everything wrong with it in one game, because that's pretty much what this game is. It's everything wrong with the Japanese gaming industry in one game. And you know, the worst part is, why are there like Sega logos all over this game? Like, why are there logos for other companies in this game? I mean, why did they give their approval to be in such a trashy game? I mean, this game pretty much sums up everything wrong with the Japanese gaming industry now, because Sega puts their name in this Kawaii Desu fan servicey game, but they can't even localize Phantasy Star Online 2 or other games people want, while Namco does the same exact thing. And that's all I have to say about this game. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more, and I'll just leave you with a cutscene from this game, so you can cringe.
Is this Mogra?
Welcome back, Master! Oh! Is it really you?
You've been gone for 3 whole days, man. Where you been?
The hell were you thinking, disappearing like that? I thought for sure you'd been kidnapped. And what's with the high-quality 3D next to you? Something smells real fishy here.
She saved your life? What do you mean?
serious? Man, I never would have guessed all those rumors floating around Akiba were actually true.
Rumors?
What, you mean you haven't heard them? There've been like a million clips about it. People getting kidnapped and turned into monsters, then terrorizing the locals.
Yeah, that's...
They steal life energy from people. In other words, they drain their vitality, effectively killing all enthusiasm and zeal.
So what you're saying is those recent news reports of people being discovered in deeply lethargic states...
It's because they've been attacked by these synthesters?
I'm afraid so.
I think I understand. This is one of those truth is stranger than fractions things, right?
That would be fiction, Kati. Truth is stranger than fiction.
So let me get this straight. You go off to apply for some shady-as-hell job where your employer somehow drugs you and turns you into a monster? And nothing leading up to that set off a red flag. You are seriously the world heavyweight champion of dumbass.
Come on, Toko, he's been through enough already. Besides, getting lured in by LE swag makes total sense, considering who we're talking about.
Oh, for the love of... Do you even comprehend how much trouble you've caused everyone? You don't exist in a vacuum, you know.
So, ignoring these two for the moment, I believe introductions are in order. I'm Yuto Tachibana. May I have your name as well?
Mine is Shizuku. Shizuku Tokikaze.
We call ourselves the Akiba Freedom Fighters. Together, we voluntarily patrol the streets of Akihabara, keeping an eye out for trouble. He's one of us as well, and this bar serves as our base of operations.
That's right, and I'm one of the central figures in our illustrious group. Name's Kaito Tachibana, and the pleasure's mine. As you might have figured out, I'm Yuto's older twin brother. Best way to tell us apart? I'm the one with all the ideas.
Is one of those ideas being out of school and unemployed?
You shut up! You shut up and you die! Little brothers can't show up big brothers. It's against the rules.
Yes, that's enough now. I'm Kati Raikkonen. I blew on in from Finland to Japan so I could see and do its cool bizdy culture.
I believe what she's trying to say is that she flew here from Finland to study the cool culture of Japan.
Name's Kihachi Sugiyama. I'm the manager of this here game bar, Mogra, where people can knock back a few while they play these old classic arcade cabinets. Feel free to just call me Pops. Everybody else around here does. But you're welcome to call me Dear Sweet Old Man if you prefer.
He's got a face fit for the FBI's most wanted list, doesn't he?
Hey.
But he's a good guy, don't worry.
You could have said that sooner, you know.
I'm Toko Sagisaka. I grew up with this dope and just can't seem to get away from him, despite my best efforts. No need for formalities with me. Everybody just calls me by my first name. Incidentally, thanks for saving him.
I happened upon him during a mission. It was good fortune, nothing more.
There is one other member of our group, but she's like a rare monster spawn. She should pop eventually. Guess you'll meet her then.
So, what's the plan? Do we all pile into the police station and tell them Akiba's infested with monsters?
They'd never believe a word of it.
Why not? I mean, we can show them living proof. You're one of these synthester things now yourself, right?
No, that's no good. He'd get dissected and have weird sciencey tests run on him.
So going to the police would involve giving him up as a noble sacrifice. That sounds reasonable.
Don't even joke about that. Besides, shouldn't we be more concerned with trying to get him back to normal? I mean, if he stays like this, he'll start attacking people sooner or later, right?
That should be no concern. He will not attack others against his will, at the very least.
He won't?
Well, what do you think? You're the one in the hot seat here.
Yeah, that's a good call. And we should start by checking out the place where you interviewed.
If we're to find clues anywhere, that would be the most obvious spot.
There's still an awful lot I don't get, though. Like, if there's hard evidence of monsters in Akiba, shouldn't the police already be on it?
Until we're certain of that, all we can do is our duty as freedom fighters and investigate.
Oh! Hey, Tokikaze, would you care to help us out with that?
What?
Well, I mean, you seem pretty familiar with these things. So come on, what do you say?
It is true that I've been researching them. But I'm being specifically targeted by them as well. And I don't wish to involve you all in my affairs.
I think that ship has already sailed.
No kidding. These creeps have already changed one of our guys into some kind of freaky vampire. So yeah, if you can help with that, we ain't gonna stop you.
All right.
Okay then, perfect. Shizuku, please write your name and cell phone number in the group registry.
Cell phone? I'm sorry, I don't have one of those.
That's rather unusual in this day and age, but if you don't have a cell number, your email address will do just fine.
Well...
Sounds like you're a tough one to get a hold of. I guess it would be kind of awkward to ask for your home number, huh?
Actually, I haven't been home in quite some time. There were problems.
Seriously? So you're an honest-to-goodness real-life runaway, all mired in melodrama?
I didn't run away exactly, and I do have a place to stay. A place with plenty of manga. They even have a shower there.
Don't tell me you're staying in a manga cafe.
Do you not have anywhere else to go? Seems you've got some heavy stuff going on.
Pops, you know, the upstairs here is all stark and bare and empty.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think we got some bedding squirreled away around here too. What do you say, Shizuku? If you like, you're free to stay on the second floor here for a spell.
And we won't take no for an answer. Meeting you like this feels like it's gotta be more than a coincidence. Know what I mean?
Having you around can only be to our benefit if we're to continue studying these monsters. It would seem to be a win for all parties.
Then we all agree! The Akiba Freedom Fighters have a new member! 3 cheers! Bob on!
But wait. I haven't agreed to anything. All right. Just for a little while, though. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so here we freedom fighters stand, in the midst of a maelstrom. You said you fought some of these things already, but aside from that, you ever done any real hand-to-hand combat? So what you're telling me is your fingertips and your reflexes are as quick as a hair, but not the rest of you, that it? See, I'm getting a little worried now. Hey, I know. A friend of mine runs a coliseum in Akiba, or a battle arena, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Might be a good place to get yourself caught up on the basics of combat. You want, I'll introduce you.
For real? What kind of person is this? Who the hell runs a battle arena in Akiba?
Just a martial arts nut I know who found herself managing the place, that's all. But she doesn't let just anyone step into the ring. You gotta pass some kind of test first or something. I'll give her a call and let her know what's up. So you better get going. Oh, and take Shizuku with you too. A little extra training can't hurt any, right?
I think Toko should go with. She can probably force her way in there, no problem. Test be damned.
Watch your tongue! I am a dainty and respectable lady. You got that? Seriously, rude much?
It's not a bad idea, though. So whom will you escort to the arena? Shizuku or Toko?
All right. If I'm going to eliminate them, the synthesters, then I'll have to be as strong as I can.
The battle arena is on the other side of Main Street and right past Junk Street. You got that?
Let's go.